Hold on to your seats because today's story is going to shock and horrify you as it reveals how a fundraising arm of Donald Trump and other Republicans is duping seniors with dementia out of their life savings with some campaign solicitation trickery. It comes from a CNN investigative expose that reveals how money is extracted from this vulnerable population, and it shares the heartbreaking story of one family that's in ruins. Here's some excerpts from the story, how elderly dementia patients are unwittingly fueling political campaigns, and then I'll share something that everyone with concerns should know to avoid the same kind of damage, and how you can get the full story.
He had essentially put himself $50,000 in debt after he had given them his life savings.
I was dealing with President Trump, so it was kind of President Trump and Speaker Johnson were both, they want to know what I was doing.
He really, in his heart, believed that Donald Trump and Donald Trump Jr. and other politicians were personally reaching out to him.
He started experiencing cognitive decline after the death of our mother, and said that made him more vulnerable to these kinds of pleas for money.
So, Dad, did you see in July of 22, you donated $38,713?
And I logged in, and that's when my jaw dropped, because I saw hundreds and hundreds of transactions to winred.com. These amounts of like $10, $15, $40.
When we looked at his phone told the whole story, because he would get
dozens
of text messages a day.
He'd never donated to politicians before. He'd never given this large amount of money before. It made no sense that he would do this.
The difference here is that your father is in cognitive decline.
Right.
It's just despicable. There has to be a way to stop them so that they don't take advantage of these people and don't ruin their lives and take their life savings that they worked so hard for so many years.
The Benjamin family has had this conversation before. 81-year-old Richard Benjamin just doesn't remember.
So between these 2 months, it's over $60,000.
Richard Benjamin has dementia.
WinRed, boy, there was a lot of them WinRed ones.
Ultimately, he gave away more than $80,000 in political donations, all going through a fundraising platform called WinRed. Republican campaigns rely on it to solicit donations, often using misleading ads through email and text messages like, "We tried to warn you, but you kept ignoring us. President Trump personally tapped you. This is not a drill."
When we looked at his phone told the whole story, because he would get dozens of text messages a day referring to him as a patriot and thank you for helping us save America.
He just didn't have the capacity to understand what it was that he was actually doing.
Benjamin's information was shared across dozens of Republican campaigns, and he was overwhelmed by deceptive messages begging for money. The result? His children say Benjamin was duped into giving away his life savings.
You had to get a home equity line of credit to pay this off, right?
Yeah, so it depleted his savings, and then we moved him over here to assisted living and then sold his house.
You had to sell a house, move him,
sell his car.
And this is all from $10 and $25 donations. Do these political campaigns bear some responsibility?
They have very sophisticated operations. It's really outrageous. I mean, there's no other way to frame it.
CNN's investigative team reviewed more than 1,000 public reports and complaints, a sample of just 52 elderly donors, many who suffer from dementia or cognitive decline, gave away more than $6 million of their life savings, the majority to Donald Trump and other Republican candidates.
The strategy revealed by CNN is despicable, and of course it is done with the knowledge that a vulnerable population is at the end of many of the messages and with no one looking over their shoulders. A cynic might ask, but what about the Democrats? They do fundraising by text too. The expose reports that there is a similar company providing Democrats with a similar service, but the complaints against the Republican vendor outnumbers the Democrat vendor by a whopping 7-1. And CNN shares a side-by-side breakdown that shows the contrast between the two texting styles that reveals the sneaky tactics that are the exclusive domain of Republicans and Trump. We will put a link to the full CNN report in the description below, and I hope you check it out. It is mind-boggling, and I will leave you with their guidance on how you can check on the donation activity of a loved one.
There's a pretty simple way to figure out if you or someone in your family has made a political donation. You just go to a website, you type in fec.gov at the top of the screen, and click on the words campaign finance data and select raising from the options. That takes you to a page where you can choose individual contributions. From there, on the left side of the screen, there are some important sections for you to fill out. Under recipient name or ID, type in Act Blue or Win Red, so you don't end up with a double count of the donations. Below that is a section called Contributor Details. Here you can add the name of the donor, the zip code, and the city they live in. Once you press return, the screen will pull up all of the donations for this election cycle that have been submitted to the FEC. There are some caveats about searching on the FEC website. Organizations only have to submit their information monthly, so depending on when you search, not all of the donations will be here. But this search will show you the name of the donor, the recipient, and the date of the donation. If you click this gray button on the far right, which looks like a play button, the website will show you more details. And it's important to note, if you or your loved one have made a donation not through Win Red or Act Blue, then it might not show up in the search. But since most political campaigns use these processing systems, that should give you an idea.